Baby saw a German Shepherd stuck in a shopping cart. What happened next? Left everyone in tears. What you're about to hear will absolutely break your heart and restore your faith in humanity at the same time. Before we begin this incredible story, hit that like button, share with someone who needs to hear this, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. The shopping cart was upside down, its metal frame twisted like someone had thrown it from a great height. Tommy saw it first through the foggy morning air, his small hand tugging at his grandmother's worn coat sleeve. The 5-year-old boy had spotted something moving inside the overturned cart, something that shouldn't have been there at all. "Grandma Rose, look!" Tommy's voice cut through the quiet Saturday morning as they walked across the nearly empty grocery store parking lot. "There's something in that cart." Rose Matthews squinted through her glasses, her arthritic hands tightening on her purse strap. At 68, she'd raised Tommy alone since his father died 2 years ago in a construction accident. Her daughter had left when Tommy was just a baby, unable to handle the responsibility. Rose did her best, but her pension barely covered their small apartment and groceries. This morning's shopping trip was supposed to be quick, just milk, bread, and whatever was on sale. But Tommy was already running toward the abandoned shopping carts near the dumpster area, his light-up sneakers splashing through puddles from last night's rain. "Tommy, wait!" Rose called, her voice sharp with worry. "Don't touch anything dirty." The boy stopped just feet from the overturned cart, his eyes widening. Inside, tangled in heavy chains that someone had wrapped through the metal bars, was a German Shepherd. The dog's breathing was labored, each exhale creating small clouds in the cold morning air. His ribs showed through matted fur, and fresh cuts marked his legs where the chains had rubbed raw. "Grandma," Tommy whispered, his voice trembling. Someone heard him. Rose reached Tommy's side, her breath catching when she saw the animal. The German Shepherd's eyes were open, watching them with a mixture of fear and exhaustion. He didn't growl, didn't bare his teeth. He simply lay there, as if he'd given up fighting. "We need to call someone," Rose said, pulling out her flip phone. "Animal control, maybe the police." "No!" Tommy dropped to his knees beside the cart, his small fingers reaching through the bars. "They'll take him away. Look how scared he is." "Tommy, don't!" Rose grabbed for her grandson, but the boy's hand had already made contact with the dog's muzzle. The German Shepherd's reaction shocked them both. Instead of snapping or pulling away, the dog's tail gave the smallest, weakest thump against the cart's bottom. His brown eyes focused on Tommy's face, and something passed between boy and dog, an understanding that transcended words. "He's not mean, Grandma," Tommy said, softly, his fingers gently stroking the dog's nose. "He's just hurt and scared. Like I was when Daddy went to heaven." Rose's heart clenched. She watched her grandson's gentle touch, saw how the dog's breathing seemed to calm slightly at the boy's presence. But this was dangerous. The animal could have rabies, could turn aggressive without warning. "Tommy, we don't know anything about this dog. Please, Grandma." Tommy turned to her, and Rose saw tears streaming down his cheeks. "Remember what Daddy always said? That we should help anyone who needs it, even if it's hard?" Before Rose could respond, heavy footsteps approached. Carl Brennan, the grocery store manager, appeared around the corner, his face already set in a scowl. Rose knew Carl from church, a man who counted every penny and never gave anyone the benefit of the doubt. "What's going on here?" Carl demanded, his eyes narrowing at the scene. "This area is off-limits to customers." "There's a dog," Rose explained, gesturing to the cart. "Someone's chained him inside. He needs help." Carl barely glanced at the animal. "Not my problem. That's the dumpster area. Probably some stray that got itself tangled up. I'll call the pound later." "He's not a stray!" Tommy stood up, his small fists clenched. "Someone did this to him on purpose. Look at the chains." Carl's expression hardened. "Listen, kid, I don't have time for this. You and your grandmother need to leave before I call security." "You don't have security," Rose said quietly, but there was steel in her voice. "Carl, this animal is suffering. The least you can do is let us help him." "Help him?" Carl laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You can barely afford your groceries, Rose. I see you counting pennies at checkout. You want to add a vet bill to your troubles?" The words stung, but Rose lifted her chin. "Some things are more important than money." Carl shook his head and walked away, calling over his shoulder. You've got 10 minutes before I call the real authorities. Then it's their problem, and yours if you're still here." Tommy had already returned to the dog, his small hands working at the chains. They were padlocked in multiple places, impossible to remove without tools. The German Shepherd watched the boy's efforts, occasionally licking Tommy's fingers when they came close enough. "What's your name?" Tommy whispered to the dog. "How did you end up here?" Rose knelt beside her grandson, her knees protesting against the wet asphalt. She could see now what Tommy had noticed. These weren't random injuries. The cuts were deliberate, the chains arranged to cause maximum discomfort. Someone had wanted this dog to suffer. "There's a collar," she said, spotting a worn leather band beneath the chains. "Maybe there's a tag." Tommy's nimble fingers found the collar first. It was military style, thick and practical, with a small metal plate attached. Most of the writing was worn away, but they could make out a name, S-C-O-U-T. Below it, barely visible, was a phone number. "Scout," Tommy said softly, and the dog's ears perked up slightly. "That's your name, isn't it?" "Scout?" The German Shepherd's tail moved again, stronger this time. Rose pulled out her phone, her fingers trembling as she dialed the number. It rang once, twice, 3 times. She was about to hang up when a gruff voice answered. "Hello? Who is this?" "My name is Rose Matthews," she said quickly. "I'm calling about a German Shepherd named Scout. We found him." "Scout?" The voice changed completely, desperation replacing suspicion. "You found Scout? Is he okay? Where are you?" "We're in the Riverside Shopping Center parking lot. He's been hurt. Someone chained him inside a shopping cart." There was silence on the other end, then what sounded like a choked sob. "Those bastards, I knew they'd—" "Please, is he alive?" "Yes, but he needs help." "Who are you?" "Marcus Rivera. I'm Scout's owner. He's my service dog. Was stolen 3 weeks ago. I've been searching everywhere." The man's voice broke. "I'm in a wheelchair. Scout is trained to help me with everything. Without him, I can barely leave my house." Rose looked at the suffering animal, then at her grandson's determined face. "We're trying to free him, but the chains are padlocked." "I'm 4 hours away," Marcus said, anguish clear in his voice. "I'll leave right now, but please don't let anyone take him to the pound. They won't understand. Scout has special training, special needs. He won't trust anyone except—" The line went dead. Rose looked at her phone, confused. The battery was still charged, the signal strong. She tried calling back, but it went straight to voicemail. "Grandma," Tommy said urgently, "look." A white van had pulled into the parking lot, moving slowly past the storefronts. It had no company markings, no license plate on the front. The windows were tinted so dark they couldn't see inside. The van stopped about 50 feet away, engine still running. Scout's entire demeanor changed. The exhausted, defeated dog suddenly tensed, a low growl rumbling from his chest. Despite his injuries and weakness, he struggled against the chains, trying to position himself between Tommy and the van. "It's okay, Scout," Tommy said, but his voice was uncertain now. "It's okay." The van's door opened. 2 men stepped out, both wearing dark jackets with some kind of badge hanging from their necks. They walked with purpose, their eyes fixed on Scout. "Morning, folks," the taller one said, his smile not reaching his eyes. "We're with Animal Control. Got a report about a dangerous dog causing problems here." Rose stood, pulling Tommy behind her. "No one called you. We just found him ourselves." "Store manager called," the shorter man said, producing a clipboard. "Said there's an aggressive German Shepherd threatening customers." "He's not aggressive," Tommy protested, trying to move around his grandmother. "He's hurt and scared." The tall man's eyes narrowed. "Son, you need to step away from that animal. German Shepherds can be unpredictable, especially when they're injured." Scout's growling intensified. Despite barely being able to move, he bared his teeth at the approaching men. His body language was clear. He recognized these men, and not in a good way. "You're not Animal Control," Rose said suddenly, the realization hitting her. "Animal Control has marked vehicles, uniforms. You're just wearing regular clothes with fake badges." The shorter man's friendly expression vanished. "Lady, you don't want to interfere with official business. That dog is dangerous and needs to be put down." "Put down?" Tommy's voice rose to almost a scream. "No! You can't!" The boy did something then that made everyone freeze. He squeezed through a gap in the overturned cart, positioning his small body directly over Scout. The dog immediately stopped growling, instead pressing against Tommy as if trying to protect him even while chained. "Get out of there, kid," the tall man said, taking a step forward. "Right now?" "No," Tommy said, his voice steady despite his tears. "You hurt Scout before. You're the ones who put him here. I won't let you take him." The two men exchanged glances. The shorter one reached into his jacket, and Rose's blood ran cold, but instead of a weapon, he pulled out a phone. "Boss," he said after dialing, "we have a situation. The dog's here, but there's a kid and an old lady. What do you want us to do?" Rose could hear an angry voice on the other end, though she couldn't make out words. The man's face paled slightly. "Understood," he said, ending the call. He looked at his partner. "We wait. He's sending backup." "Backup?" Rose's mind raced. Who were these people? What did they want with Scout? Tommy, still positioned protectively over the dog, made a discovery. "Grandma," he said quietly, "Scout has something in his collar. Like a little camera." Both men stepped forward aggressively at those words, but Rose moved too, placing herself between them and the cart. "I've already called 911, she lied, holding up her phone. "They'll be here any minute." The tall man laughed. "No, you didn't. But even if you did, we have friends in the department. This dog is coming with us one way or another." Scout made a sound then, not quite a bark, more like a specific pattern of whines and soft woofs. Tommy, without understanding why, found his hand moving in response, making a gesture he'd seen in movies, a military hand signal for danger. Scout's reaction was immediate. Despite his injuries, he responded with another series of sounds, almost like he was reporting information. "The dog's been trained," the shorter man said urgently. "Military training." The boss was right. He's got intel. "Intel?" Rose was completely lost now. "He's a service dog for a disabled veteran." "Lady, you have no idea what you've stumbled into," the tall man said. "That dog has information that could put a lot of important people in prison. We're here to make sure that doesn't happen." A new sound cut through the morning air. Sirens, real ones, getting closer. The two men looked at each other, then back at the van. More vehicles were pulling into the parking lot now. Early morning shoppers starting to arrive. Witnesses. "We'll be back," the tall man said, backing toward the van. "This isn't over." They drove away just as a police car pulled in from the other direction. Rose had never been so relieved to see law enforcement, though given what the men had said about having friends in the department, she wasn't sure who to trust. The officer who stepped out was young, probably mid-20s, with kind eyes and a gentle manner. His badge read, "Officer Daniel Park." "We got a call about a disturbance," he said, then saw Tommy in the cart with Scout. "Oh my God, is everyone okay?" "Please help," Rose said, the morning stress finally catching up with her. "The dog is chained inside. He's hurt, and these men just tried to take him." Officer Park immediately called for backup and an emergency veterinary unit. As he examined the scene, his expression grew increasingly grim. "These chains are military grade," he said quietly. "And these injuries, this is torture, plain and simple." While Park worked on cutting the chains with bolt cutters from his patrol car, Tommy never left Scout's side. The dog, despite his pain, kept trying to lick the boy's face, as if expressing gratitude. "You're safe now," Tommy whispered. "I promise, no one's going to hurt you again." But even as he said it, he saw his grandmother's worried expression. They both knew those men would return. Whatever Scout had witnessed, whatever information he carried, someone powerful wanted it buried. The chains finally fell away with a metallic clatter. Scout tried to stand, but collapsed immediately, his legs too weak from 3 weeks of captivity and abuse. Tommy caught him as best he could, the 50-pound dog nearly crushing the small boy. "I've got you," Tommy said, tears streaming down his face. "I've got you, Scout." Officer Park helped lift Scout carefully, laying him on a blanket Rose had retrieved from her car. The dog's condition was worse than they had initially thought. Infected wounds, severe dehydration, possible internal injuries. "The emergency vet is on the way," Park said, "but I need to ask, do you know anything about this dog? Why would someone do this? Rose explained about the phone call with Marcus Rivera, the supposed animal control officers, their mention of intel and important people. Park's expression grew more concerned with each detail. "I need to make some calls," he said. "This might be bigger than local police can handle." As they waited for the veterinary ambulance, Tommy sat with Scout's head in his lap. The dog's breathing was labored, but his eyes remained fixed on the boy's face. "You know what?" Tommy said softly. "My daddy was brave like you. He saved people, too, before he went to heaven. Maybe that's why we found each other." Scout's tail moved slightly, and he managed to press his nose against Tommy's hand. Rose watched her grandson with this broken, traumatized dog and saw something she hadn't seen since his father's death: purpose. Tommy had been so lost, so quiet and withdrawn. But now, faced with someone who needed him, the boy was coming alive again. Dr. Elena Vasquez arrived in a specially equipped veterinary ambulance, her assistant immediately beginning emergency treatment. As they prepared to load Scout for transport, the dog panicked, trying to stay with Tommy. "It's okay," Tommy said, walking alongside the stretcher. "I'm coming with you." "Honey, we can't afford—" Rose began. "I'll cover it," Officer Park said suddenly. "All of it. I have a discretionary fund for cases like this." Dr. Vasquez examined Scout quickly but thoroughly. "He needs immediate surgery, multiple infections, possible internal bleeding. It's going to be touch and go." "Please save him," Tommy begged. "Please." As they loaded Scout into the ambulance, he managed one last look at Tommy. In that gaze was a promise. He would fight. He would survive. Because now he had something to live for again. The ambulance pulled away, and Rose held her grandson as he sobbed. Neither of them noticed the white van parked across the street, watching, or the phone call being made to someone very powerful, very dangerous. The man on the other end of that call listened to the report, his fingers drumming on his desk. "A 5-year-old boy and his grandmother," he repeated, "and they've made contact with Rivera." "Yes, sir. What do you want us to do?" "Nothing yet, but watch them. If that dog survives, if Rivera gets there, if they access what's in that collar, then we'll have to take more drastic measures." "What about the cop?" "Park, he's clean. Too clean. We might have a problem there." "Should we eliminate him?" "Not yet. Too messy, too public. But be ready. This situation is spiraling out of control." The call ended, and the van pulled away, following the ambulance at a discreet distance. At the veterinary hospital, Dr. Vasquez worked frantically to stabilize Scout. Tommy refused to leave, sitting in the waiting room with his grandmother, his small hands clasped in prayer. "Please," he whispered, "please let Scout be okay. He's been through so much. He deserves to be happy." Rose held her grandson close, her own prayers mixing with his. She thought about Marcus Rivera driving desperately toward them, about the men who wanted Scout dead, about the secrets locked in that collar camera. What had they gotten themselves into? Dr. Vasquez emerged after an hour, her scrubs blood-stained, her expression grave. "He's stable for now, but critical. The next 24 hours will determine everything." "Can I see him?" Tommy asked. "He's sedated, but actually, it might help. Sometimes they can sense familiar presences." She led them to the recovery room, where Scout lay surrounded by monitors and IV lines. He looked so small, so vulnerable, nothing like the proud military dog he must have once been. Tommy approached slowly, placing his small hand on Scout's paw. "Hey, Scout. It's me, Tommy. You're going to be okay. You have to be okay, because Marcus is coming. He needs you." Scout's eyes fluttered slightly, not quite opening, but his paw twitched under Tommy's touch. "That's remarkable," Dr. Vasquez said. His heart rate just stabilized. "Keep talking to him." So Tommy did. He talked about everything, about his daddy, about how scared he'd been when the bad men came, about how brave Scout was. He talked until his voice grew hoarse, never letting go of Scout's paw. 3 hours into their vigil, Officer Park returned with troubling news. "I've been digging into this," he said quietly to Rose. "There's a whole network involved. Stolen military dogs, particularly those with specialized training or classified knowledge. Someone's been targeting veteran service animals. But why Scout specifically? I made some discreet inquiries. Marcus Rivera isn't just any veteran. He was Special Forces, worked in intelligence. Scout was with him on several classified missions. That camera in his collar? It's not just a camera. It's been recording everything, uploading to a secure server. Rose's blood ran cold. Recording what? The people who stole him. Their conversations, their meetings, their crimes. Scout's collar has been gathering evidence for 3 weeks. Evidence that could bring down some very powerful people. And now they know we have him. Park nodded grimly. I've requested federal backup, but it'll take time. Until then, we're on our own. A commotion in the parking lot drew their attention. Through the window, they could see a van equipped with a wheelchair lift. A man was lowering himself down, his movements urgent despite his obvious physical limitations. Marcus Rivera had arrived. He rolled through the hospital doors like a force of nature, his eyes wild with desperate hope. Where is he? Where's Scout? Tommy stood up, approaching the veteran slowly. He's here. He's fighting. He's really hurt, but he's fighting. Marcus looked down at the small boy, and something in his expression broke. You're the one who found him? Tommy nodded. He was so scared, but he let me help him. He's really brave. Yeah, Marcus said, his voice thick. He is. Dr. Vasquez led Marcus to Scout's room. The moment the veteran entered, something extraordinary happened. Scout's eyes opened fully for the first time since surgery. His tail, despite everything, attempted to wag. Hey, partner, Marcus whispered, rolling close to the bed. I'm here. I'm so sorry. I'm so damn sorry I let them take you. Scout whined softly, his paw reaching toward his handler. Marcus took it gently, and the dog's whole body seemed to relax. I've got you now, Marcus promised. No one's going to hurt you again. But even as he said it, Officer Park was getting an urgent call. He stepped away to answer, his face paling as he listened. We have a problem, he said when he returned. My captain just ordered me to stand down. Said this is out of our jurisdiction now. Whose jurisdiction is it? Rose asked. That's just it, he wouldn't say. Just said federal agents would be taking over within the hour. Marcus's expression hardened. They're not federal agents. They're contractors, private military, the same people who've been hunting us. Then we need to leave, Rose said. Now. Scout can't be moved, Doctor, Vasquez protested. He'll die. They were trapped. Scout was too weak to run, but staying meant capture or worse. Tommy looked between the adults, his young mind working through the problem. What if we don't run? He said suddenly. What if we make them come to us, but with everyone watching? What do you mean, buddy? Marcus asked. Tommy pulled out Rose's phone. My friend's mom posts videos online all the time. They get shared really fast. What if we tell everyone what's happening, right now? The adults exchanged glances. It was dangerous, but it might be their only chance. Do it, Marcus said. Record everything. Get it out there before they can stop us. Rose's hands shook as she held the phone, starting to record. Tommy stood beside Scout's bed, his small hand resting on the dog's side. Hi, Tommy said to the camera. My name is Tommy. This is Scout. He's a hero dog who served our country. Bad people hurt him and tried to kill him because he knows their secrets. They're coming for him now. Please help us. Please share this so everyone knows what's happening. Marcus rolled into frame. I'm Sergeant Marcus Rivera, retired Special Forces. Scout and I served 3 tours together. He saved my life 12 times. Now, people want him dead because his collar recorded evidence of their crimes. Stealing service dogs, selling them, killing them when they're no longer useful. They're coming here now. If something happens to us, you'll know why. The video was simple, raw, emotional. Rose uploaded it to every platform she could think of, sending it to local news stations, posting it on social media. Within minutes, it had dozens of views, then hundreds. Officer Park's radio crackled. Park, what the hell is happening? We're getting flooded with calls about that hospital. Just doing my job, sir, Park replied. Protecting and serving. I'm ordering you to... Park turned off his radio. Outside, vehicles were arriving, not marked police cars, but black SUVs with government plates. Men in suits stepped out, their manner professional but cold. Here we go, Marcus muttered. The lead agent, a woman with steel-gray hair and emotionless eyes, entered the hospital flanked by 4 others. She bypassed reception, heading straight for Scout's room. "Mr. Rivera," she said without preamble. "Agent Sarah Chen, Department of Defense. We're here to retrieve military property." "Scout's not property," Tommy said, stepping protectively in front of the dog's bed. "He's family." Chen's expression didn't change. "The dog contains classified information. He needs to come with us." "Over my dead body," Marcus said. "That can be arranged," Chen replied coolly. The tension in the room was electric, but then something unexpected happened. People began arriving at the hospital, first a few, then dozens. Tommy's video had gone viral, and the community was responding. They pressed against the windows, phones out, recording everything. Local news vans pulled up. Veterans in wheelchairs and on crutches formed a protective line at the hospital entrance. Chen's phone rang. She listened, her jaw tightening. "Understood, sir." She looked at Marcus. "You have 24 hours. Then we're taking the dog, crowd or no crowd." As the agents left, pushing through the growing mass of supporters, Tommy felt Scout's paw move under his hand. The dog was looking at him with those intelligent brown eyes, conveying something Tommy couldn't quite understand. "What is it, boy?" Tommy asked. Scout's gaze moved to his collar, then back to Tommy, a deliberate, repeated motion. Marcus noticed too. "He's trying to tell us something." With shaking fingers, Marcus examined Scout's collar more carefully. There, hidden beneath the camera, was a tiny USB port. "My God," Marcus breathed. "He's been storing everything locally too, not just streaming it." "What does that mean?" Rose asked. "It means we have evidence. Real, physical evidence. But we need to download it before they realize." Dr. Vasquez produced a laptop from her office. As Marcus connected the collar to the computer, files began transferring. Videos, audio recordings, documents, 3 weeks of evidence. "Look at this," Marcus said, his voice shaking with anger. "They've stolen 43 service dogs in the past year, sold them to underground fighting rings, medical testing facilities, or just killed them for sport." "There are names here," Officer Park said, looking over Marcus's shoulder. "High-ranking officials, police commissioners, even a senator." "That's why they want Scout dead," Marcus said. "He's got enough evidence to bring down their entire operation." Tommy watched Scout's eyes growing heavy again, the effort of staying conscious taking its toll. "Rest now," the boy whispered. "We've got what you were protecting. You did your job." As Scout drifted back to sleep, his paw still held in Tommy's small hand, the crowd outside continued to grow. The story was spreading beyond their small town, beyond their state. A 5-year-old boy and a wounded war dog had started something that couldn't be stopped. But the real danger was just beginning. Agent Chen made a call from her vehicle, her voice cold and precise. "We have a situation. The evidence has been downloaded. Multiple copies are probably already in circulation." "Then we go to Plan B," the voice on the other end said. "Eliminate all witnesses. Make it look like an accident. There are hundreds of people here, media presence. Then we wait for them to disperse. The boy and his grandmother will have to go home eventually. The veteran too. When they do, we'll be ready." Chen ended the call and looked at her team. "Set up surveillance. 24-hour rotation. When they move, we move." Back in the hospital, unaware of the immediate danger, Tommy curled up in a chair beside Scout's bed. He refused to leave, and Rose didn't have the heart to make him. Marcus positioned his wheelchair on Scout's other side, creating a protective triangle around the wounded dog. "We're going to get through this," Marcus said, though he wasn't sure if he was trying to convince them or himself. "Together," Tommy added, his small voice firm with determination. Scout's tail thumped once against the bed, weak but definite. Even unconscious, he knew he wasn't alone anymore. He had found his pack, an unlikely family brought together by cruelty but bound by love and courage. The evidence from Scout's collar had already been backed up to multiple secure servers, sent to journalists, uploaded to WikiLeaks-style platforms. The conspiracy to steal and murder service dogs was unraveling, and powerful people were scrambling to contain the damage. But for Tommy, none of that mattered as much as the gentle rise and fall of Scout's chest, the warmth of his fur under his small hand, the promise that this brave dog would survive to see justice done. The first battle was won, But the war for Scout's life, and their own, was far from over. The morning sun crept through the hospital windows, painting golden stripes across Scout's sleeping form. Tommy hadn't moved from his chair all night, his small hand still resting on the dog's paw. Rose dozed fitfully in the corner, while Marcus remained vigilant in his wheelchair, watching every shadow that passed by their door. Scout's breathing had steadied during the night, but the real miracle happened when he opened his eyes and looked directly at Tommy. Not the glazed, painful look from before, but clear, alert, aware. "Marcus," Tommy whispered urgently. "He's awake." Really awake. Marcus rolled forward, his eyes filling with tears he didn't try to hide. "Hey, partner, welcome back." Scout's tail managed a stronger wag this time, and he tried to lift his head. Dr. Vasquez, who'd been checking on them hourly, rushed in at the commotion. "This is remarkable," she said, examining Scout's vitals. "His recovery rate is extraordinary. It's like he was holding on just long enough to know he was safe." "He's a fighter," Marcus said proudly. "Always has been." But their moment of joy was interrupted by Officer Park bursting through the door, his face pale. "We have a problem, a big one." "What now?" Rose asked, exhaustion making her voice sharp. "The crowd outside? Half of them are leaving. There's been a gas leak reported 3 blocks away. Emergency services are evacuating the area." Marcus's expression darkened. "There's no gas leak. They're clearing the witnesses." "That's what I thought too," Park said. "I checked with the gas company. They have no record of any leak, no crews in the area." "Then we need to move," Marcus said. "Now." "Scout can't," Dr. Vasquez began. "Scout will die if we stay here," Marcus interrupted. "They're coming." Tommy stood up, his jaw set with determination that looked strange on such a young face. "Then we protect him. All of us." "Tommy, honey, this is dangerous," Rose said. "These are bad people with guns and—" "I know," Tommy said simply, "but Scout protected us. Now we protect him." The boy's courage seemed to galvanize the adults. Officer Park got on his phone, calling every trustworthy cop he knew. Dr. Vasquez began preparing Scout for emergency transport. Marcus started making his own calls to veteran buddies. "I need a favor," Marcus said into his phone. "Remember that time in Kandahar when I saved your ass? Yeah, I'm calling it in." Within 20 minutes, something extraordinary began happening. Vehicles started arriving, not official ones, but pickup trucks and motorcycles, cars with veteran stickers and worn American flags. Marcus's brothers and sisters in arms were answering the call. A massive bearded man in leather vest marked Combat Veterans Motorcycle Club walked in, followed by 6 others. "Heard you needed backup, Rivera." "Tank," Marcus said with relief. "Good to see you, brother." "Where's the dog?" Tank asked. Tommy pointed to Scout, who was watching the newcomers with interest despite his weakness. Tank's expression softened. "That's the hero dog from the video? The one who's been gathering evidence." "That's him," Marcus confirmed. "Then we escort him out of here, full convoy. Let those government assholes try something with 50 veterans protecting him?" But even as they planned, Agent Chen was watching from a building across the street, her team positioned strategically. "They're organizing an evacuation," she reported. "Multiple vehicles, heavy escort." "Let them go," the voice on her phone said. "We know where the boy lives. We know where Rivera lives. We'll take them at the weakest point." "What about the evidence?" "It's already out there. Our focus now is punishment. Make an example. No one crosses us without consequences." Back in the hospital, they prepared to move Scout. Dr. Vasquez had rigged a portable IV system, and Tank himself lifted the German Shepherd with surprising gentleness. "You're safe, warrior," Tank murmured to Scout. "We've got you." Scout looked at the big man, then at Tommy, who was walking beside them. The dog's paw reached out, touching Tommy's shoulder as if to say he understood, he trusted them. The convoy that formed outside the hospital was unlike anything the small town had ever seen. 15 motorcycles, 10 cars, 3 trucks, all surrounding Dr. Vasquez's veterinary ambulance. Tommy rode with Scout in the back while Marcus followed in his specially equipped van. "Where are we going?" Tommy asked. "Somewhere safe," Marcus said through the radio. "I hope." They drove for an hour, heading into rural countryside, finally arriving at a sprawling property surrounded by forest. A sign at the gate read, Warriors Rest Veteran Rehabilitation Center. This place is run by former Special Forces, Marcus explained. If anywhere is safe, it's here. The facility's director, a woman with silver hair and sharp eyes, met them at the entrance. Marcus Rivera, been too long? Colonel Morrison, Marcus said with respect. Thank you for this. When I saw that video, saw what they did to your dog, there was no question. Bring him in. They settled Scout in a medical room that rivaled any veterinary hospital. Tommy refused to leave his side, and surprisingly, Colonel Morrison didn't argue. The boy has the gift, she said quietly to Marcus. Some people can connect with traumatized souls. Age doesn't matter. As Dr. Vasquez continued treating Scout, Morrison pulled Marcus and Officer Park aside. We've been monitoring chatter. Chen's team is planning something big. They can't let this stand. Too much reputation at stake. What kind of something? Park asked. The kind where people disappear and it gets blamed on a tragic accident. We have the evidence out there, Marcus said. Killing us won't stop that. No, but it'll send a message to anyone else who might stand up to them. Tommy, who'd been listening despite the adults trying to shield him, spoke up. Then we need to send a bigger message first. What do you mean, buddy? Marcus asked. Tommy pulled out Rose's phone again. We show everyone Scout's getting better. We show everyone who's protecting him. We make it so the whole world is watching, and they can't do anything without everyone knowing. Smart kid, Morrison said approvingly. They set up a live stream, with Tommy sitting beside Scout's bed. The German Shepherd was more alert now, his eyes tracking the camera as Tommy began to speak. Hi everyone, this is Tommy again, and this is Scout. He's getting better because so many people helped us. These are the veterans who came to protect him. He panned the camera around the room, showing the assembled warriors. The bad people are still trying to hurt us, but we're not scared anymore. Are we, Scout? Scout barked, weak but definite, and the live stream chat exploded with hearts and supportive messages. Within minutes, thousands were watching. Marcus rolled into frame. I want to tell you all what Scout means to me. 3 years ago, I was in a dark place. I'd lost my legs to an IED, lost my purpose, lost my will to live. The VA paired me with Scout, and this dog, this amazing, loyal, brave dog, gave me my life back. His voice cracked. He learned to help me with everything, getting dressed, picking up things I dropped, alerting when I was having panic attacks. But more than that, he gave me a reason to get up each morning. He needed me as much as I needed him. When they stole him 3 weeks ago, I thought I'd die. Not figuratively, literally. Without Scout, I couldn't function. I couldn't leave my apartment. I stopped eating, stopped answering calls. I was disappearing. Tommy reached over and took Marcus's hand. But you didn't give up. You kept looking for him. Because he wouldn't give up on me, Marcus said. Even when those bastards were torturing him, he was gathering evidence, doing his job, being the soldier he was trained to be. Scout whined softly, his paw reaching for Marcus. The veteran took it gently, and the connection between them was visible, tangible, powerful. The people who did this, Marcus continued, looking directly at the camera, they think service dogs are just property, tools to be used and discarded. They don't understand the bond, the love, the mutual salvation that happens between a warrior and their dog. The viewer count was climbing, 50,000, 75,000, 100,000. Comments poured in from around the world, veterans sharing their own stories, civilians expressing outrage and support. Then something unexpected happened. A notification popped up. Someone with a verified account wanted to join the live stream. Tommy, not really understanding the implications, accepted. A face appeared in a split screen. A woman in a news studio. This is Sandra Williams from National News Network. Tommy, Marcus, can you hear me? Yes, ma'am, Tommy said politely, making Marcus smile despite everything. We've been following your story. The nation is watching. Do you have a message for the people who did this to Scout? Tommy looked at Scout, then at the camera. Yes, you tried to hurt someone who couldn't fight back. You thought no one would care about one dog, but you were wrong. Everybody cares. And Scout forgive you, because that's what heroes do. But we won't forget, and we won't let you hurt anyone else. The simplicity and power of the child's words seemed to resonate. The share count exploded, the video spreading across platforms faster than any algorithm could track. Agent Chen, watching from her command post, slammed her laptop shut. "This is spiraling out of control. We need to act now." "Negative," came the voice on her phone. "Too much attention. Stand down." "Sir, if we don't eliminate them—" "The operation is burned, Chen. We're cutting losses. Destroy all evidence of your involvement and disappear." "That's an order." Chen looked at her team, fury and frustration warring on her face. "You heard him. We're out." But one of her team members, a younger agent named Brooks, shook his head. "This is wrong. We're just going to walk away after what we've done?" "You have a problem with orders, Brooks?" Brooks looked at his laptop screen, where Tommy's live stream was still playing. The boy was now showing Scout's wounds to the camera, explaining how each one happened, his young voice steady despite the horror of what he was describing. "Yeah," Brooks said finally, "I do." He stood up, pulled out his phone, and started recording Chen. "Agent Sarah Chen, Department of Defense, operating under Project Kennel. Everything the kid said is true. We've been stealing service dogs, selling them, eliminating them when necessary. I have documents, recordings, proof." Chen pulled her weapon. "Brooks, stand down." "No." He hit send on his phone, uploading the video instantly. "I joined to serve my country, not to torture innocent animals and threaten children." The standoff lasted only seconds before Chen's phone rang again. She listened, her face paling. "Understood." She lowered her weapon. "We're all burned, every one of us. Arrest warrants are being issued as we speak." "Good," Brooks said. He looked at his fellow agents. "Anyone else want to do the right thing? There's still time to cooperate, maybe cut a deal." Two others stepped forward. Chen looked at them with disgust. "Traitors." "No," Brooks said. "Patriots. We just remembered what that means." Back at Warrior's Rest, they were unaware of the implosion happening within Chen's team. Scout was improving by the hour, his tail wagging more strongly each time Tommy spoke to him. The boy had barely left the dog's side for 36 hours. "Tommy needs to rest," Rose said to Marcus. "He's exhausted." "I don't think he can rest," Marcus said. "Look at them." Tommy had climbed carefully onto the bed beside Scout, the big dog curling protectively around the small boy. They were both awake, but peaceful. Tommy's hand buried in Scout's fur, Scout's head resting on Tommy's shoulder. "They're healing each other," Colonel Morrison observed. "Trauma recognizes trauma, but so does courage." Dr. Vasquez entered with good news. Scout's infection is under control. His wounds are healing faster than expected. At this rate, he'll be able to walk within a week. "Hear that, Scout?" Tommy said. "You're getting better." Scout's response was to lick Tommy's face enthusiastically, making the boy giggle for the first time since the ordeal began. Marcus's phone rang. He answered cautiously, then his eyes widened. "Are you sure? All of them?" He hung up and looked at the others. "That was a contact at the FBI. Chen's entire team is being arrested. 3 of them turned whistleblower. The whole operation is coming down." "So we're safe?" Rose asked. "Safer," Marcus corrected. "But there are still people out there who profited from this. The buyers, the organizers who stayed in the shadows." Tommy sat up, his expression serious. "Then Scout's job isn't done?" Everyone looked at the boy. "What do you mean?" Marcus asked. "Scout gathered evidence for 3 weeks, but there must be more dogs out there who need help. Scout knows their smells, their sounds. He could find them." Marcus and Morrison exchanged glances. "The kid's got a point," Morrison said. "Scout's training includes tracking and, identification, if there are other stolen dogs." "He could lead us to them," Marcus finished. Scout barked as if agreeing. His eyes were bright, alert, ready. "But first he needs to heal completely," Dr. Vasquez insisted. "No operations until he's at full strength." Over the next week, Scout's recovery was nothing short of miraculous. Every day Tommy would help with his physical therapy, encouraging him to take a few more steps, to stretch a little further. The bond between them deepened with each passing hour. Marcus watched them with a mixture of gratitude and something else. A recognition that Scout had found something with Tommy that even Marcus couldn't provide. The unconditional, innocent love of a child who saw Scout not as a tool or even just as a service dog, but as a friend who needed help. "You know," Marcus said to Tommy one afternoon as they watched Scout successfully climb stairs for the first time since his rescue, Scout's going to need ongoing care, training refreshers, daily exercise, someone who understands him. You'll take good care of him, Tommy said confidently. Marcus smiled. Actually, I was thinking Scout might need 2 handlers. Someone to help when I can't manage everything myself. Would you be interested? Tommy's eyes went wide. Really? I could help take care of Scout? If your grandmother agrees. It would mean coming to my place after school, helping with his exercises, maybe even learning some of his commands. Yes, Tommy shouted, then caught himself. I mean, I'd like that very much, sir. Rose, who'd been listening, felt tears prick her eyes. Since her son's death, she'd watched Tommy withdraw into himself. But Scout had brought him back to life, given him purpose and joy again. I think that's a wonderful idea, she said. Scout barked his approval, his tail wagging so hard his whole back end moved. The story could have ended there. A boy and a dog, both broken by loss, finding healing in each other. But fate had other plans. 3 weeks after the rescue, when Scout was back to full strength, Officer Park arrived at Warrior's Rest with news. We've been tracking the financial records from Chen's operation, he said. We found a facility about 2 hours from here. Looks like a boarding kennel on paper, but the money moving through it suggests something else. A holding facility, Marcus said grimly. For stolen dogs. That's what we think. FBI is planning a raid, but... Park hesitated. But what? Some of the dogs there have been missing for months. They'll be traumatized, possibly aggressive. We need someone they might trust, someone who can identify military or service animals. Marcus looked at Scout, who was already alert, sensing the importance of the conversation. Scout could do it. He knows the difference between civilian and service dogs. He could help calm them, show them it's safe. It could be dangerous, Park warned. Everything worth doing is, Marcus replied. Tommy, who'd been playing with Scout, looked up. If Scout goes, I go too. Absolutely not, Rose said immediately. This is a police operation, not a field trip. But Scout works better with me there, Tommy argued. You've all seen it. He's braver when I'm with him. It was true. Everyone had noticed how Scout seemed to draw strength from Tommy's presence, how the boy's voice could calm him instantly. The kid has a point, Morrison said, but it would have to be completely secure before he goes anywhere near the place. After much debate, a compromise was reached. Tommy and Rose would wait in a safe vehicle while Scout and Marcus went in with the FBI team. If Scout found dogs that needed calming, and only if the scene was completely secure, Tommy could help. The raid happened at dawn 3 days later. The facility looked exactly like a normal kennel from the outside, clean, professional, unremarkable. But Scout's reaction as they approached told a different story. He whined, his hackles rising, his nose working overtime. He smells them, Marcus said. He knows there are dogs in distress. The FBI team breached the facility quickly and efficiently. What they found inside made hardened agents sick. 43 dogs in various states of neglect and abuse. Some were clearly military or police dogs, others service animals, all stolen from their handlers or families. Scout entered with Marcus, and his presence had an immediate effect. Dogs that had been cowering or aggressive suddenly perked up, recognizing him as one of them, a working dog, a soldier. One German shepherd in particular caught Scout's attention. She was huddled in the corner of a cage, tags indicating she'd been there for 6 months. Scout approached slowly, making soft sounds Marcus had never heard before. That's Bella, one of the captured workers said, trying to bargain for leniency. Belonged to some Marine who died. We grabbed her from the funeral. Marcus felt rage rise in his chest, but Scout was already working. He lay down in front of Bella's cage, patient, unthreatening, waiting. After several minutes, Bella crept forward, sniffing Scout through the bars. We need Tommy, Marcus said into his radio. Scout's found something. Against Rose's protests, they brought Tommy in once the facility was secure. The boy walked past the cages of traumatized dogs without fear, his focus entirely on Scout and the German shepherd he was comforting. Hi, Bella, Tommy said softly, sitting cross-legged beside Scout. You're safe now. The bad people can't hurt you anymore. Bella looked at the boy, and something in her broken expression shifted. She moved closer to the cage bars, allowing Tommy to gently touch her nose. She's like Scout was, Tommy said to Marcus. Scared and hurt, but still good inside. Over the next hours, Tommy and Scout worked together, moving from cage to cage. Tommy would talk softly while Scout provided the calming presence of a fellow service dog. It was remarkable to watch a 5-year-old boy and a German Shepherd doing what trained negotiators couldn't, reaching traumatized animals and showing them it was safe to trust again. The facility workers were arrested, and the dogs were taken to various veterinary hospitals for treatment. But the real breakthrough came when one of the workers, facing life in prison, decided to cooperate fully. "There are 12 more facilities," he confessed, "across 6 states. This is bigger than you know." The information he provided led to the largest animal trafficking bust in U.S. history. Over 500 stolen service and military dogs were recovered. The network that had seemed so powerful, so untouchable, crumbled in a matter of weeks. But for Tommy, the statistics didn't matter as much as the individual dogs. He visited each one recovering in local facilities, always with Scout by his side. Together, they became known as the healing team, the boy and dog who could reach the unreachable. 6 months after Scout's rescue, they attended a ceremony in Washington, D.C. Scout was to receive a medal for his service, both military and civilian. Tommy wore his first suit, standing proudly beside Marcus as they wheeled onto the stage. The president herself presented the medal, but it was Tommy she addressed. "Young man, you showed us that courage doesn't have an age requirement. You stood up to dangerous people to protect someone who couldn't protect himself. That's the definition of a hero." Tommy shook his head. "Scout's the hero. I just helped." The audience, hundreds of veterans, service dog handlers, and families, erupted in applause. But the most meaningful moment came after the ceremony, when a woman approached with tears in her eyes. "You found Bella," she said, "my husband's dog. He died in Afghanistan, and Bella was all I had left of him. When she was stolen..." She couldn't continue, overcome with emotion. Tommy hugged her without hesitation. "Bella's going to be okay." Scout made sure she knew she was safe. The woman knelt down, looking Tommy in the eye. "You and Scout didn't just save dogs. You saved the families who loved them. You saved people like me who had lost hope." As they prepared to leave Washington, Marcus had one more surprise. "Tommy, Rose, I've been thinking. My apartment is too small for Scout to properly exercise, and I could use help with his daily care." "We'll help whenever you need," Rose assured him. "Actually," Marcus said, producing a document, "I was thinking of something more permanent. Joint custody. Scout would legally belong to both of us, me and Tommy. He'd spend days with me for my service needs, evenings and weekends with you for continued training and socialization." Tommy's jaw dropped. "Scout could live with us sometimes? If your grandmother agrees." "The VA has approved it, says it's an innovative approach to service dog care." Rose looked at her grandson's hopeful face, at Scout's wagging tail, at Marcus's sincere expression. "Yes," she said simply. "Yes, of course." The journey home was filled with joy and planning. They would modify Rose's small house to accommodate Scout's needs. Tommy would learn all of Scout's commands, would train to be a junior handler. It was a future none of them could have imagined that foggy morning in the parking lot. But the story wasn't quite over. A year later, Tommy stood in front of his first grade class for show and tell. Scout sat beside him, calm and dignified, wearing his service vest covered in medals. "This is Scout," Tommy began. "He's a hero dog. He was hurt by bad people, but he never stopped being brave. He saved lots of other dogs and helped catch the bad people. But the most important thing Scout did was teach me something." "What did he teach you?" his teacher asked. Tommy looked at Scout, who gazed back with those intelligent brown eyes that had seen so much but still held so much love. "He taught me that being scared doesn't mean you can't be brave, that being hurt doesn't mean you can't help others, and that sometimes the smallest person can make the biggest difference if they just try." Scout barked once, as if agreeing, and the classroom erupted in applause. Later that day, as Tommy and Scout walked home together, the boy's small hand resting on the dog's back for guidance and companionship, they passed the spot where it all began. The shopping center had put up a small plaque, in honor of Scout and Tommy, who reminded us that compassion and courage can change the world. Tommy read it to Scout, who wagged his tail and licked the boy's face. "We did good, didn't we, Scout?" Tommy said. Scout barked twice, his signal for yes. And they continued their walk, a boy and his dog, bonded by trauma but defined by triumph. Marcus, watching from his van as he picked them up for Scout's afternoon service duties, felt a peace he hadn't known since before his injury. Scout had saved him, Tommy had saved Scout, and somehow, in that circle of salvation, they'd all found family. The trafficking ring was destroyed, hundreds of dogs were reunited with their families, and new laws were passed protecting service animals. But for Tommy, the greatest victory was simpler. Every morning, he woke up to Scout's gentle nose nudging his hand, ready for another day of adventure and purpose. Chen was serving life in prison, her conspirators either behind bars or turned state's evidence. The facilities were shut down, the stolen dogs recovered. Justice had been served. But in Tommy's room, where Scout's bed sat beside his own, where drawings of their adventure covered the walls, where a medal of bravery from the president sat on the shelf, the real treasure was the soft sound of Scout's breathing in the night, a reminder that love, courage, and determination could overcome even the darkest evil. The boy who'd found a dying dog in a shopping cart had become a national symbol of courage. The dog who'd been left to die had become a beacon of resilience. Together, they'd proven that heroes come in all sizes, all species, and sometimes they find each other in the most unexpected places. As Tommy drifted off to sleep, Scout's paw resting protectively over his small arm, he whispered, "Thank you for choosing me to save you." Scout's tail thumped softly against the bed, and in that sound was his response, "Thank you for not giving up on me." Their story had begun with cruelty and fear, but it ended with love and hope. And in classrooms, veterans' hospitals, and animal shelters across the country, people told the tale of Tommy and Scout, the boy and dog who changed everything by simply refusing to walk away from someone in need. The ripples of their courage continued spreading, inspiring others to stand up against injustice, to protect those who couldn't protect themselves, to believe that one small act of kindness could indeed change the world. And it all started with a 5-year-old boy who saw a German shepherd trapped in a shopping cart and said the words that would define both their destinies. "We have to help him." The evidence Scout had gathered led to reforms in military dog adoption procedures, new federal laws protecting service animals, and a nationwide database to track and recover stolen working dogs. The Scout Law, as it became known, made stealing a service animal a federal crime with mandatory minimum sentences. Tommy grew up to become a veterinarian, specializing in military and service dogs, with Scout by his side for another 12 beautiful years. When Scout finally passed, peaceful and loved at the age of 15, Tommy held him close and whispered, "Good boy." Mission complete. At Scout's memorial service, attended by hundreds of people whose lives he'd touched, Tommy, now 17, spoke about the lesson Scout had taught him that never faded. True courage isn't the absence of fear. It's seeing someone who needs help and stepping forward anyway, no matter how small you are or how big the challenge seems. The memorial garden planted in Scout's honor at Warrior's Rest became a place where veterans and their service dogs could find peace and healing. A statue there shows a small boy and a German shepherd standing together, facing forward, ready for whatever comes next. The inscription reads, "Scout and Tommy, proof that heroes are measured not by their size, but by the size of their hearts." And every year on the anniversary of Scout's rescue, Tommy returns to that spot with his own service dog, one of Bella's puppies, trained by Tommy himself, to remember the dog who changed his life and the moment when choosing compassion over fear made all the difference. The story of Scout and Tommy became required reading in schools, teaching children about empathy, courage, and the power of standing up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. It showed them that age is no barrier to making a difference, that sometimes the smallest voices can spark the biggest. Change's veterans with PTSD found hope in their story, knowing that their service dogs were valued and protected. Families of fallen soldiers took comfort knowing that their loved ones' canine partners would be honored and safeguarded. And somewhere, in small towns and big cities across the nation, other children found the courage to speak up when they saw injustice, inspired by a 5-year-old who refused to walk away. The white van, the chains, the shopping cart, all symbols of cruelty, became instead reminders of how quickly evil falls when good people stand together. The image of Tommy protecting Scout with his small body, of Scout protecting Tommy despite his injuries, became iconic, a testament to the bonds that transcend species and the love that conquers fear. Marcus continued his work with veterans and service dogs, establishing the Scout Foundation with Tommy and Rose. Together, they've helped reunite over 1,000 stolen or lost service dogs with their handlers, provided free veterinary care to veteran service animals, and educated millions about the sacred bond between warriors and their four-legged partners. Rose, who thought her life's purpose had ended with raising Tommy, found new meaning in managing the Foundation's outreach programs. She became a grandmother figure to hundreds of veterans who'd lost their way, showing them the same patient love she'd shown her grandson. And Tommy? Tommy never forgot the feeling of Scout's heartbeat under his small hand that first morning. The trust in those brown eyes, the courage that flowed between them like electricity. It shaped every decision he made, every path he chose, always asking himself, what would Scout do? The answer was always the same. Protect the innocent, stand against cruelty, never give up, and remember that love is the strongest force in the universe, stronger than fear, stronger than evil, stronger than any chain or cage or threat. Their story reminds us that heroes aren't just found in battlefields or boardrooms. Sometimes they're found in parking lots on foggy mornings, in the space between a child's compassion and an animal's trust, in the moment when someone says, "This is wrong, and I'm going to make it right." Scout's collar, the one that recorded everything, now sits in the Smithsonian Museum, part of an exhibit on American heroes. But Tommy kept one thing, Scout's first toy, a small tennis ball that the dog carried everywhere after his rescue. It sits on Tommy's desk as he works to save other animals, a reminder that healing begins with play, that joy can return even after trauma, that life is always worth fighting for. The last entry in Scout's military record, added after his passing, reads, "Served with distinction in Afghanistan and at home, saved countless lives through his service and his sacrifice, proved that the mission doesn't end when the uniform comes off, showed a nation that heroes come in many forms. Good boy. Mission complete." But perhaps the most powerful legacy of Scout and Tommy's story is found in the thousands of comments on that original video, still circulating online years later. Parents writing about how their children became more compassionate after hearing the story. Veterans sharing how it helped them value their service dogs even more. Animal rescue workers saying it gave them strength to continue their difficult work. One comment, liked over 1 million times, perhaps says it best. "A boy and a dog reminded us who we're supposed to be. Protectors of the innocent, defenders of the defenseless, believers in the power of love over fear. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Scout. You made us all better humans." The shopping cart was eventually recovered and destroyed, but not before Tommy insisted on keeping one bar from it, a reminder that even the worst moments can become the beginning of something beautiful. That bar now forms part of a wind chime at Scout's grave, its gentle sound a constant reminder that Scout is still watching, still protecting, still teaching us about courage. And on quiet mornings, when the fog rolls in like it did that fateful day, Tommy, now Doctor Thomas Matthews, still hears Scout's voice in the wind, still feels that courage flowing through him, still knows that somewhere, Scout is proud of the man he became. Because Scout didn't just save Tommy that day in the parking lot when he chose to trust him. And Tommy didn't just save Scout when he refused to abandon him. They saved each other, and in doing so, they saved countless others, dogs and humans alike, who would find hope in their story for generations to come. The cycle continues. Every day somewhere, a child stands up to cruelty, a dog trusts despite trauma, a veteran finds hope, a family refuses to give up, and the spirit of Scout and Tommy lives on, proof that love, courage, and determination can overcome any darkness. Their story asks us all a simple question. When you see someone suffering, someone trapped, someone who needs help, what will you do? Will you walk away like Carl the manager? Will you make excuses about why it's not your problem? Or will you be like Tommy, dropping to your knees beside the suffering, saying, "I'm here. You're not alone. We're going to get through this together"? The choice is always ours. And as Scout and Tommy proved, choosing compassion, choosing courage, choosing love, that choice can change everything. In the end, it wasn't about the conspiracy they uncovered, or the criminals they caught, or even the laws that were changed. It was about a moment of pure humanity, a child seeing suffering and refusing to accept it, a dog finding trust despite every reason not to, and the beautiful, unbreakable bond that formed between them. That bond reminds us that we're all connected, all responsible for each other, all capable of being heroes in someone's story. We just have to be brave enough to try, compassionate enough to care, and stubborn enough to never give up. Scout taught us that loyalty transcends death, that courage isn't about being fearless, but about protecting others despite your fear. Tommy taught us that size and age don't determine impact, that a child's pure heart can move mountains and change laws and save lives. Together, they taught us that love is the most powerful force in existence, more powerful than any criminal organization, any government agency, any amount of money or influence. Love is what made Tommy refuse to leave Scout's side. Love is what gave Scout the strength to survive and gather evidence despite his torture. Love is what brought veterans from across the country to protect them. Love is what continues to inspire people who hear their story. And love is what whispers to us all, in our moments of doubt and fear, you can make a difference. You can be someone's hero. You can change the world. All you have to do is see someone in need and make the choice Tommy made that foggy morning. We have to help. The rest, the miracles, the justice, the healing, the hope, all of that follows when we choose love over fear, action over apathy, courage over comfort. Scout and Tommy's story isn't really over. It continues every time someone chooses kindness, every time a child stands up to bullies, every time a veteran hugs their service dog, every time someone says, "This is wrong and I'm going to make it right." It continues in you, the person hearing this story, carrying it forward, letting it change how you see the world and your place in it. Because we all have a Scout to save. We all have a Tommy inside us waiting to be brave. We all have the power to turn a moment of cruelty into a lifetime of compassion. The question is, what will you do with that power?